Hey YouTubers. So today I want to talk about a little girl that went missing 25 years ago. 25 years later, new evidence have surfaced. Her name was Asha Degree. Apparently it was a storm at her parents' house. She came up, they woke up, the parents woke up the next morning, she was gone, nobody never seen her again. 25 years later, new details has surfaced. So first I'm gonna let y'all watch a video about her disappearance 25 years ago. Shout out to Black Girl Gone. And then I'm going to give y'all the new details, the new update. Because when I first seen this video on Black Girl Gone, I kept saying the dad probably did this. I don't know if he's her dad or stepdad. Because it was the dad, the mom, Asha, and the brother. I kept saying the dad must have did this. 25 years later, the FBI kind of got an idea who did it. So let's watch it together, y'all. I'm not going to probably play the full video. I'm just going to let y'all see the bite drop of her coming up missing 25 years ago and allegedly what happened 25 years ago. Then we're going to watch the new details, what's going on today, 25 years later.
Telling the stories of the missing and murdered will always be difficult, but when it involves a child, it's a little bit more difficult. This week, we delve into a puzzling case of Asha Degree, a young Black girl whose vanishing remains a mystery to this day. As we explore the details of this heartbreaking story, my goal, as always, is to help bring attention to these stories, even ones that have gotten a lot of attention. Asha's disappearance is one that demands our attention as we continue to strive for answers and resolution for her family. Asha Degree was a bright and cheerful girl who lived with her parents, Harold and Aquila Degree, and her older brother. Born on August 5th, 1990, Asha had a love for basketball and excelled in school. She was known for her quiet and shy nature, and she was adored by her family and friends. In the year 2000, Asha was a fourth grade student at Falston Elementary. At Falston, she played basketball for the school and was just an all around good student. She was often selected as Student of the Week. Her favorite subjects were math and science, and when she got older, she dreamed of attending Winston-Salem University, where she wanted to study science. Now, not many 9-year-olds know what college they want to go to, but Asha had big plans. She wanted to be a writer and an illustrator. The Degrees were a close-knit family who were actively involved in their church community. Asha's mother and father tried their best to protect their children from the evils of the world. They were only allowed to watch certain TV shows, and the family did not have a computer because they were afraid of predators gaining access to the children. In the neighborhood the family lived in, there were also several of the Degrees family members that lived close by, who the family was also very close with. Asha and her brother were surrounded by family, but even still, their parents were very cautious. When they played outside, they were only allowed to go but so far. Because both of their parents worked, Asha and her brother would come home by themselves after school and would stay alone until their parents got back. When you give children that responsibility, it's important that they understand the dangers that may be out there so that they're careful. And so the Degrees were very protective over their children. Aisha was known to be a responsible child, even at just 9 years old. She knew not to speak to strangers or answer the door for anyone, even family if her parents weren't home. She was well aware of the potential dangers that were lurking out there, and so that is why what happened in the early morning hours of February 14th, 2000 makes no sense. That weekend had been, by all accounts, pretty typical. Now, over the years, the timeline and some of the information regarding the events of that weekend have gotten lost or mixed in with other details, and so it's hard to know exactly what happened. But what I could piece together was this. That Friday, February 11th, school was closed for the children, and since their parents had to work, reports state that Aisha and her brother spent the day at their aunt's house. That afternoon, both of them had a basketball game at the school, and so they both went to play with their teams. Aisha's game was first, but after fouling out of the game, her team lost, and Aisha, according to those in attendance, was upset. The team had been undefeated, and she was their star player, and her fouling out of the game had contributed to their first loss of the year. Her brother's game was right after hers, and people there said that by the time his game started, Aisha was in a much better mood. That Sunday, February 13th, the Degree family spent the morning at church like they normally did. Aisha had been at her cousin's house since Friday, and so her parents had picked her up from there before heading to church, which was about 15 minutes from where they lived. They attended church service, and then they went to a family member's afterwards for lunch before heading back to their house. The fateful night began like any other in the Degree household. Aquila, Aisha's mother, recalled a routine evening. Aisha was tired from staying up late with her cousins, and so when she got home, she took a nap at around 6:30 p.m. It had been raining that night, and the sounds of the thunder awoke Aisha from her nap. Her family said that around 8:30 p.m., after she woke up, she joined her mom and brother in the den where they were watching TV. Harold, Aisha's father, was at work that evening, and so at first it was just Aisha, her mom, and her brother at home. As the evening progressed, the storm outside intensified, and it created an eerie backdrop for what was going to happen that night. At around 9 p.m., the bad weather had caused a car accident nearby. The car hit a utility pole, causing the power at the Degree home and several others in the area to go out. So the family lit candles, and Aisha's mom lit a kerosene heater so they would stay warm while they waited for the power to be restored. She said in a later interview that her sister and her kids, who lived across the street, came over and stayed with them during the blackout. Aquila said that around 9:30, she told the children to go to bed. And she said a few hours later, at around 12:30 in the morning, the power was restored. Now, Aisha's dad arrived home sometime later that evening after the children were already asleep, according to reports. Harold said that he stayed up until about 2:30 a.m., but he said before he went to bed, he went into his children's room and both Aisha and her brother were sound asleep. Now, sometime after that, Aisha's brother said that he heard her get up to use the bathroom. Now, what time it was exactly isn't clear, but if we're going with the father's timeline, then it was sometime after 2:30 in the morning. Her brother said that he heard Aisha when she returned to their room and heard a noise that sounded like her bed squeaking from her getting back in. After that, he fell back asleep. And then after that, at some point, in the early hours of Monday, February 14th, Aisha, for reasons that are still unknown, left her home without a trace. Now, that morning, shortly before 6 a.m., Aisha's mother woke up and went into her children's room to wake them up for school. Now, her son was fast asleep in his bed, but when she looked over at Aisha's bed, she wasn't there. When the Degrees discovered that she was missing, panic immediately set in. They started frantically searching the house and the surrounding area, but they could not find Aisha anywhere in or immediately around their house. They called around to family members that lived nearby to see if maybe she had gone to their house, but no one had seen her. Her parents, now fearing the worst, called 911. Police arrived shortly before 7 a.m., and the initial search focused on the Degree residence and the immediate vicinity. After looking through Aisha's room, her family discovered that Aisha's sneakers were missing, along with a pair of jeans, her backpack, and a Tweety Bird purse her teacher had given her. Police had quickly determined that there had been no forced entry and there was no evidence that a crime had taken place inside the house. Law enforcement began combing through the dense woods and fields that surrounded the family home, hoping to find any signs of Aisha. But the stormy weather from the night before had complicated the search efforts, making it difficult for search teams to navigate the rugged and muddy terrain. The local authorities had immediately begun actively searching for Aisha, launching the largest search in the county's history at the time. But as the hours passed, the search for Aisha intensified. The information about her missing began spreading, and the local community rallied together because they were determined to find her. Volunteers from all over came forward, offering their time and resources to assist in the search efforts. Together, these volunteers formed search parties and combed through dense forests, fields, and abandoned buildings, hoping to uncover any sign of Aisha. As part of their search, they also distributed flyers and posted missing person posters to raise awareness about her disappearance. Their efforts galvanized the community and united them in a common goal to bring Aisha home safely. It didn't take long for the media to get wind of the disappearance, and they quickly began to spread information about Aisha's disappearance to a wider audience. And as news of her disappearance spread, the media coverage quickly ramped up. Local newspapers and television stations in and around Shelby began reporting on the case, sharing details about Aisha's disappearance and urging the public to come forward with any information. The story captured the attention of the surrounding communities, stirring up a mixture of both fear and concern. Reporters interviewed Aisha's family and friends, and those interviews helped to shed light on her personality and daily routines. Pictures of her smiling face were plastered across newspapers and broadcasted on television screens. And as the media coverage continued, it became clear that Aisha's disappearance was not going to fade away quickly. The increased attention from the media sparked an outpouring of support from the public, with many more individuals joining the search efforts and offering their assistance. The media coverage in those early days played a crucial role in raising awareness about Aisha's disappearance and mobilizing the community to come together in the search for answers. In the hours that followed Aisha's mysterious disappearance, the search for answers reached a fever pitch. Despite relentless efforts and widespread searches, investigators found themselves in a nail biting pursuit. No clues, no leads, and the mystery was deepening. But the urgency to unravel the truth became more important than ever. In the early morning hours of February 14th, 2000, 9-year-old Aisha Degree disappeared from her home in Shelby, North Carolina. As the search to find her continued, reported sightings and clues left behind would only create more questions. As one day turned to two and then three, the search for Aisha had expanded beyond Shelby. Flyers with her picture were distributed across the state, and news outlets all over North Carolina had picked up the story. As the search continued, investigators discovered two critical pieces of evidence that only added to the mystery. In the days following Aisha's disappearance, there were several potential sightings of her. Witnesses reported seeing a girl matching Aisha's description walking along Highway 18 in the early morning hours of February 14th. A truck driver told the Charlotte Observer, quote, "I seen a little girl walking with her book bag. She had on a little white dress, white tennis shoes, and her hair was in pigtails." He said that when he saw her, he was concerned, and so he turned his truck around to go back. Quote, "I went back, but she never looked up at me. She looked like she knew where she was going. She was walking at a pretty fast pace," he continued. And now, not long after that sighting, another trucker said that he saw someone walking along the highway wearing light colored clothing. He said that he thought it was a woman and that it was some kind of domestic situation. He claimed that he had no idea that it was a child. He said he didn't think anything about it until he spoke to his wife later on that night, who told him about Aisha missing. Now, neither of the people who possibly saw Aisha that night called the police until after she was reported missing. But these sightings of her alone led investigators to believe that Aisha may have willingly just left her home, but at some point encountered her predator.
This is weird. We're not talking about a teenager, a 13, 14-year-old girl. We're talking about a 9-year-old girl on a stormy night. Children are typically scared to go out on a stormy night. Not only that, it's nighttime. It's dark. Something in this is fishy. So when I originally saw this story, I said the dad had did it. Now it's a new update in the case. I'm gonna play that video after this one. So let's continue to watch the video.
However, no definitive evidence could confirm this theory at the time. Despite the efforts of law enforcement and community volunteers, these sightings did not provide any solid leads in the search for Aisha. Investigators, however, were determined to uncover the truth behind her disappearance, and they continued to explore all possible avenues to bring her home. A few days after Aisha disappeared, a local family came forward after they found several suspicious items in their shed. The family said that they had found the items on February 15th, the day after Aisha was reported missing. Inside the shed was a Mickey Mouse hairbow, candy wrappers, a pencil, a pen, and a picture of an unidentified little girl. When the items were collected by police, it was discovered that the candy wrappers matched candy that Aisha had been given at school for Valentine's Day a few days before, and her parents confirmed that the hairbow and pen that she had gotten on a family vacation did belong to her. But the discovery raised questions about why she would have been in the shed. Had she gone in there to get out of the rain after leaving home? And was she alone? Detectives brought out bloodhounds, but they were unable to pick up Aisha's scent. After discovering those items in the shed, the theory that started to gain traction was the possibility that Aisha had just simply run away from home. Some speculated that she may have been unhappy or facing an unknown threat, prompting her to flee in the middle of the night. This theory, however, clashed with the image painted by family and friends of a content and well adjusted child. As investigators delved into Aisha's life, searching for any signs of issues or a motivation to run away, they found no conclusive evidence. The lack of a clear motive or indication of any unhappiness challenged the runaway theory, leaving many, including detectives, to grapple with the unsettling reality that the young girl had seemingly vanished without a trace. As the weeks turned into months, the small town of Shelby dealt with the emotional toll of Aisha's disappearance. The once thriving community found itself haunted by the uncertainty, with every missing child poster serving as a stark reminder of a young girl who had become a symbol of the unknown. The search efforts continued, with volunteers joining law enforcement and scouring the area for any signs of Aisha. Candlelight vigils and community gatherings became a regular occurrence as the town rallied together to support the Degree family. The collective grief and fear that hung over Shelby transformed the disappearance of Aisha into a shared trauma. But the disappearance also gave rise to various theories and speculations, with the investigators grasping at any thread that could lead to answers. Now, among the theories considered were abduction, family involvement, and the possibility that Aisha had just ran away from home. But the most haunting theory that lingered in the minds of investigators and the public was the possibility of abduction. Could someone have targeted Aisha, luring her away from the safety of her home on that stormy night? The discovery of some of her belongings near Highway 18 and the sightings of a child fitting her description walking along the roadway also suggested that she may have just been vulnerable to the elements and also potential predators. Law enforcement examined reports of any suspicious individuals in the area, but the lack of eyewitness accounts or credible leads hindered the progress. As the investigation continued, the community coped with the unsettling thought that a predator might be lurking among them. In cases of missing children, investigators often explore the possibility of family involvement. However, both of Aisha's parents vehemently denied any knowledge of her disappearance or involvement in what happened to their daughter. And the family's cooperation with law enforcement and their emotional distress added weight to their claims of innocence. Despite their cooperation, however, some in the community speculated that the family might be hiding secrets. And so rumors circulated, and whispers of strained family dynamics and hidden motives fueled suspicions. The degrees, in the midst of their grief, sadly, found themselves under intense scrutiny as the investigation continued. But 18 months after Aisha's disappearance, a chilling development unfolded. In August 2001, more than a year after she went missing, a man named Terry Fleming made a startling discovery. 26 miles away from where Aisha and her family lived, while excavating the land near the highway, he discovered a backpack buried in the ground and wrapped in plastic. The backpack, which was later identified as Aisha's, contained personal items such as clothing, a pencil, and a family photo. There was also a book inside the bag. The book was a Dr. Seuss book, a library book that did not belong to Aisha. Now, finding the book raised even more questions about who had checked the book out from the library and who had given it to her. Now, when the bag was first discovered, the contents of it were not publicly released. It was nearly 2 decades after Aisha disappeared that we learned exactly what was in the bag. Now, aside from the book, there were several items of clothing, including her basketball uniform and her favorite pair of pants, a pair of shoes, Aisha's house key, and her wallet, and 3 family photos. Also found in the bag was a New Kids on the Block nightshirt, but Aisha's family said that the nightshirt did not belong to her. Now, early in the investigation, the FBI had joined local law enforcement in the search for Aisha, and the additional resources provided by the FBI was more than welcomed, and initially raised her family and the community's hope that they would start to get answers. The FBI's expertise and resources added a new level of depth to the investigation and uncovered previously unknown information. They assisted in speaking to Aisha's family and friends, and those interviews provided valuable insights into Aisha's relationships and interactions, helping them to piece together a clearer picture of what may have transpired on the night she disappeared. But when the backpack was found, the investigation began to focus on specific individuals, creating a renewed sense of urgency and momentum. With the newfound information, law enforcement worked tirelessly to connect the dots, investigating every possible lead in the hopes of uncovering the truth behind Isha's mysterious disappearance. At that point, the investigation had yielded some significant findings. They had discovered that Aisha had left her home during the early morning hours of February 14th at approximately 3 a.m., possibly on her own accord. The authorities were able to determine that she had been seen walking along the nearby Highway 18, but after thorough analysis, they could not locate any evidence of foul play or an abduction. Investigators believed that Aisha had left on her own. They just could not figure out why. But after the discovery of the backpack, investigators were hoping that they would find something else that would lead them to Aisha. But they were no closer to finding her than they were before. As the years went by, Aisha's story began to get less and less attention. And although it was a big story in the beginning, eventually the searches stopped and the media largely moved on. Locally, however, it remained a big story among the locals. And while the case did garner national attention, including being featured on America's Most Wanted and the degrees appearing on national talk shows, it never did get the attention that it really deserved. In 2015, Over a decade after Aisha's disappearance, a new lead emerged, reigniting hope for answers. The FBI released information about a potential witness who came forward with startling accounts. The witness claimed to have seen Aisha getting into a dark green 1970s Lincoln Continental along Highway 18 on the night she disappeared. This revelation shifted the focus of the investigation back to the possibility that Aisha might have been coerced or forced into a vehicle, something that investigators had speculated but had never been able to prove. Now, the witness's account opened up new avenues for the FBI and the local law enforcement and prompted a re examination of the files and a renewed effort to solve this case. A $25,000 reward for information was offered, and there was hope once again that this case would be solved. But in the years following that information being released, there was no information that led to Aisha. In 2018, the FBI released the information about the contents of the backpack, including pictures of the shirt and book found with the bag. The FBI hoped that the items may jog someone's memory, but as of the recording of this episode, the disappearance of Aisha Degree remains unsolved. Over the years, age progressed photos of what Aisha may look like as she aged have been released, and with no proof to say otherwise, there was and is the possibility that she is still alive. The reward has been raised to $45,000, and billboards featuring Aisha's pictures have been posted around the area. But the mystery surrounding what happened to this child left a scar on this small town, and it is a haunting loss for the Degree family. It's now been over 23 years since Aisha vanished, and the theories continue to circulate, with the community divided on what may have transpired on that stormy night in 2000. The items in the shed, the buried backpack, and the sightings on the highway have added layers of complexity to a case that defies any easy explanation. The lack of concrete evidence, combined with the passage of time, has left investigators grappling with the challenge of unraveling a mystery that seems to grow more elusive with each passing year. The disappearance of Aisha Degree is a heartbreaking story of a young life interrupted and a family forever changed. The search for answers continues, fueled by the hope that one day the truth will come out, bringing closure to a family and a town haunted by the unknown.
This weird, y'all. That baby was 9 years old. So I'm finna give y'all the update on it. Because like I said, originally I thought the dad had did it. But let's say the dad didn't do it. I think she left that home for a reason. I mean, she left that home because of some things that was going on. So I'm going to show y'all a couple of clips on why I think that something was going on in that home.
Are now saying she was likely killed and that her body was hidden.
Now, we've had an entire team of people literally going through these hundreds of pages of search warrants to get those information and that in detail. And WCNC Charlotte's Destiny Richards is now in studio this morning to break down what we have learned so far. Destiny, good morning.
Good morning. The search warrant documents confirm something that was unknown for decades. Aisha Degree's death was a homicide and her body was hidden. They also revealed that DNA was discovered on a t-shirt and backpack that belonged to Asha, and it matched to 2 people. Those 2 people are Russell Underhill and Annalee Dedman. Underhill lived at a facility owned by the Dedman family before his death in 2004. Annalee Dedman is the youngest daughter of Roy and Connie Dedman. She was 13 at the time of Asha's disappearance. And because of her age, investigators believe her parents, quote, would have been necessary in the execution and or concealment of the crime. The link is what prompted investigators to search the Dedmans' properties last week, and right now the Dedmans are the only persons named as suspects in Asha's disappearance. This comes days after Roy Dedman's attorney, David Teddy, told us he believes the investigation would reveal a now dead individual is responsible for what happened to Asha.
Because of the rampant conjecture and speculation, I think there will also be information in that search warrant that sadly will link a person to the circumstances of Asha's disappearance that is no longer living.
Teddy did not elaborate on why he thought that, though of the people named in the warrants, only Underhill has passed away. The warrants also revealed that construction crews found bags with Asha's belongings from all the way back in 2001, but we're still working to find out why the DNA wasn't matched until now. Kayland?
The DNA wasn't matched until now because that's what they do for families that, you know what I mean, that has a little money behind them. You can see clearly they got an attorney already. So they definitely had money behind them. That's the first thing. So I'm gonna let y'all watch this video before. It's 2 more videos I want to show y'all. This is the new update. Now that family they spoke about, where they just did a search warrant at their house, that was a family that stayed not too far away from her in the same town, the Dedman family. So the DNA they found on Asha's stuff was believed to be a man that lived there who worked for the family and one of the daughters of the family that lived there. So here go the update, y'all. I want to give y'all the update.
Well, tonight we continue to follow developments in the Asha Degree disappearance case. Warrants just revealed today showing where law enforcement is focusing now. Asha was last seen February 14th of 2000 when she was just 9 years old. A year later, evidence belonging to Asha was found about 21 miles from where she was last seen. Now, last September, warrants revealed Connie and Roy Dedman were listed as suspects. At this time, no one has been charged in the case, but now officials are sharing new details about the further involves the Dedmans, including potential confessions. WCNC Charlotte obtaining those documents just this afternoon. Tradisha, you've been combing through all of these for hours. What else can you tell us that came from this?
Well, Colin, these documents detail a friend of the Dedmans girls. Now, he says the 20-page detailed document, basically, according to what we saw, is the oldest daughter. Her name is Lizzie. The friend said that she was crying and allegedly making some serious confessions. It even goes even deeper, revealing a series of text messages between her and her sister.
More than 25 years later, the Asha Degree case taking an unexpected turn. These documents shedding more light on what may have happened decades ago. Back in September of last year, a friend of the Dedman girls says he was at a party back in the mid-2000s when Lizzie Dedman was what he called sobbing and bawling while extremely intoxicated. He said Lizzie made several statements confessing to murder, saying she said, quote, "I killed Asha Degree," with her middle sister Sarah Gwen Capel quickly grabbing her head and telling her to shut up. The friend was tested on a polygraph test to verify the information. He passed. Documents also highlight text messages between Lizzie, her sisters, and her ex-husband, Kelly, back in September. Lizzie also sent texts to her sister, Sarah, after a conversation with the family's lawyer saying, quote, "I just talked to David Teddy, and the theory is I did it. Accident, covered it up. Her sister Sarah then replies, "Why would it be you?" Documents also show text messages between Lizzie and her ex-husband, Kelly, saying, quote, "I'm just so worried, so worried." And, quote, "I don't know what to do. I caused this." He replies, quote, "No, you didn't."
Now with these text messages, y'all, that's that Deadman family that they found some items at their house with the DNA of a worker that worked for the Deadmans and the youngest girl. Now these are text messages between the two oldest girls. So the DNA found was one of the DNAs that was found on her stuff with the youngest girl. These are text messages between the oldest two girls, the oldest girl and the middle girl. Now the oldest girl is saying, "I caused this." And then she writes the middle girl and say, "Well, our lawyer said that they're speculating that I did it and it was an accident." And the middle girl said, "Well, why you?" That makes sense if they found the baby girl DNA there. So I'm trying to figure out, the baby girl probably would have been about Asha's age, maybe, give or take. And you see she had a nightgown with the Bike Street Boys on it. I think that's what the group called. So we know, I figured, hold on, a non-colored girl gave her that nightgown, and maybe the book too. And she had a picture of somebody. Where that picture that y'all got, that y'all found with her stuff in the barn, with the candy wrappers and all that? Was the picture of one of the girls there? Could she have been leaving to go to that girl's house? Maybe. Or like the older sister Lizzie said, based on the witness statement, is that she was drunk one night at a party and said, "I killed Asha Degree." She could have been driving home drunk and hit Asha, and then the family got involved with moving her body, and that's how they probably, I don't know how they would have got the baby girl DNA. But something is definitely fishy in this situation. But we see here now the FBI knows somebody in that family unalived Asha Degree. Why haven't no arrests been made? Why? Because they all gonna stick together, and the FBI probably don't know which one did it, but he know one of them did it. The lawyer is trying to say that the guy that worked for the family, the one that's now deceased, he's speculating to that man did it. That's why he said the person that caused Asha Degree death may now be deceased. That's what they're trying to say, that maybe the guy that passed away already did it, but we know one of those girls did it. So was she going to meet one of those girls? Maybe even met one of the girls and took Asha home with them. Something is fishy in this. The FBI know exactly what happened.
And officials did approach Lizzie during that same month of September to discuss new information offered in a polygraph test. Initially, she declined. However, just last week, officials reapproached Lizzie Foster. They say she became very emotional and agreed to take the test. She was then asked if she was concealing information and was found to be deceptive.
Janisha, I got a lot of questions. I guess the biggest one is, what else did you find in these documents? I know there's a lot of information there. Anything else interesting?
Yeah, so law enforcement approached her sister Sarah also, who declined to do an interview until a later date. So it's important to remember that no one has been charged at this time.
All right, wow, thanks for going through all that.
And so that green card that a witness came forward a year after Asha went missing, so that would have been 2001, and say he's seen a green car, her getting in a green car, that's the family owned that green car. So if someone seen her willingly got in the car, we know that Lizzie didn't hit her on the road drunk. So it's really confusing. But I want to show y'all this video right here. So like I said, I originally thought the father had something to do with it. And I'm going to show y'all the video where the brother also may have thought the father had something to do with it. I'm sorry, y'all. I want to make sure I get the correct video. So let's say if the father didn't do it, because we know now that somebody from their home had something to do with it. But did the brother know that something was going on inside their home, and that's why he thought the father had did it? So yeah, that's kind of like fishy, and you're gonna even see. You're finna see why I thought the dad did it, and I want y'all to look at this real close. I want y'all to pay attention to the brother reaction to all this. All right, listen to what he say and pay attention to what he's saying. So you can tell the look on his face, because at the beginning he's gonna say, basically, Pops, I apologize for all these years of you having to go through everything you went through with people thinking that you did that. But I want y'all to pay attention to his face after his father takes the floor.
What does it mean today as far as the 25th year, which will be Friday?
I believe she's still alive, and until somebody can prove me wrong, I'm still gonna believe that.
We ask you, God, to bless this family. Continue to use them, God. Continue to give them this encouragement, God. Continue to lift them up, God. Continue to bless all of us who will come out today. We live beautiful, praise God. You all we have to hold on to, God. Oh, in the midnight hour, when we begin to cry, Father, we have to look at you, God, and say, God, help us do this.
Can you tell me a little bit about the community that you have here and that you had before her disappearance?
We was normal family. They played sports. We went to practice. We went to games. So we still basically had the same community because half of the children that he went to church with is who we graduated with. And she would have graduated with her class too, if, she'd have still been here.
With the case being so public and people having their thoughts about it, their theories, and pointing the finger at a family member, how have you gotten through all of those moments where you're hearing that? What did it mean, and how did it feel today to have O'Brien in front of everyone say, hey, I know some people might not ever say it, so I want to take this time to apologize to you for all of this that has been said before.
To my dad, other people might not say it. I'm going to apologize to you for what you had to endure for these 25 years of you saying that you had something to do with my sister's disappearance. I know the love you have for her, and I know the love you have for me and my mama, and I don't care what nobody said. I know you had nothing to do with this, and I stand on that. And I'm sorry, I feel like things.
It was emotional, but then I understood where he was coming from, and he had to get it out. I know he wasn't planning on doing that, but I know it just happened. If people say, I tell them, people are safety, you got to say, you can't change people's opinion.
Look at the brother's face. Him and Asha slept in the same room.
It's about nobody. If people form their opinions about you, regardless whether good or bad, you can't change it. So you just got to let them say what you're going to say and try to move on past it.
People got opinions. They're going to say whatever they want to say. And I learned that if you keep feeding into it, the more you argue with them, they're going to go, well, if it wasn't true, she wouldn't be that, or she wouldn't be this, or she wouldn't keep saying that. So you got to learn to just, okay, tune them out. If I thought for half a second, a millimeter of a second, that he had something to do with my child being missing.
Why is she saying my child? Why didn't she say our child? Is that Asha's stepdad? Because I think it's her dad. But why is she saying my child? So yeah, I'm gonna play the video, y'all.
Oh, he would have been dead a long time ago. But I know this man. I love this man. I know him better than he know himself. And I know his heart. And I know he didn't. She was the daddy's girl. We had to teach him. It's gonna be stuff out, but you know your dad. And we've never lied to him since all this happened. He know what we know.
In September, when there was new information in the case, did that kind of give more energy to you guys, or?
Not necessarily energy. We always searching for answers. The biggest thing I say is you try not to get your hopes up. And the reason I say it that way, yes, you want closure, but now you start wanting the rush result. Like, okay, what's next? What's next? What's next? And unfortunately, these things take time.
I'm gonna say again, anything could have happened. She could have been lured out the house. She could have been asked to come out the house by one of those little dead men's family girls, because they had 3 girls about Aisha's age. I think Lizzie was the oldest one, the one that was at the party saying that, hey, I killed Aisha Degree while she was drunk. She was the oldest. The youngest one might have been closer to Aisha's age. But either one of them lured her out the house, like, come see me, like friends. She's probably a white, non-colored girl. Her mom got money, sleepover type thing. Asha had her favorite jeans and her basketball outfit. So apparently she thought she was going to be going to school from wherever she was going. Or she could have ran away because of things that was going on in home. That's possible also. But a happy child in a happy home, like they said they had, a child is not going to leave. So we know there's only a couple of options. You guys can make a decision. But again, stay woke. The same thing that was kind of going on back then, going on in 2025. We have to protect our young girls, our young boys too, but we really have to protect our young girls, because this is the most puzzling story I've ever seen. I can't wait till Lizzie just decide to say, hey, I want to confess and tell what happened, which I doubt if they'll ever do that, because that family is 25 years later and they still holding that secret in. That whole family know what happened. But yeah, I would love to know, why did she leave the house on a stormy night? No lights, so it had to be storming really bad to take the lights out. So she left the house on a stormy night in the dark of the night. So yeah, YouTube, you guys seen the videos, make a decision, and again, stay woke, because everybody ain't who they seem to be.